But we'll begin this hour at the White House, where President Trump is holding a cabinet meeting, the first one since the war with Iran started. The president's latest warning to Iran: accept defeat or, quote, before it's too late. President Trump posted on social media saying Iran is begging the U.S. to make a deal, but that's despite Iran insisting it's not currently negotiating with the United States. Here's the president from just moments ago.
They are begging to make a deal, not me. They're begging to make a deal. And anybody that saw what was happening over there would understand why they want to make a deal. But they say, oh, we're not talking to them. Anybody would know that. And only a total fool. And they're not fools. They're very smart, actually, in a certain way.
Let's get to CBS News White House reporter Olivia Rinaldi, who is live in Washington for us today. Good to see you, Olivia. So what more are we hearing from the president?
Well, Mugo, it's great to see you. This is just the latest threat that President Trump is issuing to the Iranian people, saying now is the time to make a deal, framing this in the sense that time is running short. Time is of the essence here for the Iranian people to make some sort of negotiation, some sort of deal with the U.S. government as this war drags on. President Trump just moments ago said he's giving Iran the chance to abandon their pursuit of a nuclear weapon. And if they don't, he says it will be their worst nightmare. Now, there's a lot of discussion about the negotiations ongoing with Iran currently. The president says they are having those negotiations. Those are happening, but we know they're happening through intermediaries. They're not happening directly with Iran's counterpart. They're going largely through Pakistan, who is having these third-party negotiations, indirect talks with the U.S. government. President Trump has said that Vice President Vance, Secretary Rubio, and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, along with the president's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, are among those who are doing the negotiations with Iran. And you can see there Secretary Rubio and Secretary Hegseth flanking the president today, of course, as Iran is top of mind. The president also repeated that he believes they are ahead of schedule, way ahead of schedule is what he said. They estimated 4 to 6 weeks to achieve their mission. The president also said, boasting really, that the U.S. Army, military, and Air Force and Navy are free to roam over their cities and towns and destroy their weapons, adding again, it is their chance to make a deal. The president also imploring them to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. He's saying earlier in this meeting, we don't know if there are mine droppers throughout the strait, and that's really what is holding up some of that shipping traffic. There are the potential mines that are in the strait, also those small Iranian boats that could attack ships that are trying to transit through the Strait of Hormuz. But largely the conversation that the president opened up with in this cabinet meeting was about Iran. He also touched on the economy, not mentioning gas prices to my knowledge from what I heard, but talking about record high tax refunds as we are within tax season right now, and Americans are getting their refunds. But now it looks like they're doing table talk, and it looks like Steve Witkoff is speaking, who of course is tasked with having these negotiations with a variety of countries around the world, including Ukraine and the Iranian intermediaries.
Olivia, I also want to ask you about the current ongoing DHS shutdown. What is the White House saying about that?
Well, White House advisors that I talk to and sources I speak to tell me they are eager to make a deal. They don't like seeing what's going on at these airports with these record long lines that TSA is having because they have been missing paychecks. Also a reminder, they're going to miss another paycheck tomorrow. And the TSA chief was on Capitol Hill earlier this week, who said it's about $1 billion in pay that those officers have missed so far. But still, they're largely leaving the negotiations up to Capitol Hill and senators to make some sort of deal. We know there were backdoor conversations happening yesterday between the GOP. We know the White House has been expressing their point of view that they feel that some type of deal should be made. But still, Senate Democrats are holding firm on wanting more reforms for ICE and other agencies like HSI before they agree to any sort of deal. And this is, of course, coming as we're heading into peak spring break travel season, with Easter weekend being next weekend. So these lines are really only going to get longer and more painful for the American flying public. Yesterday, President Trump did say, though, in his speech to the NRCC fundraising dinner, that he does believe Democrats are not willing to vote for this funding because they want the focus of the news to be on these long lines at the airports and not the success of Operation Epic Fury in Iran. So it is interesting that he is linking those two together, saying there's such success in Iran that Democrats don't want to focus on that and instead want to focus on the shutdown and long lines at the airport. Which is an interesting thing for him to, link those two together. But still, it doesn't seem, as of right now, like they are close to a deal. So those long lines will continue.
Okay. Olivia Rinaldi in Washington for us today. Thank you so much.